International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples. I would like to thank you for joining us today. I am Indridewi Sukagunas, Citibank Indonesia Senior Solution Sales for Treasury and Trade Solutions, and I will be the moderator for today. Around the world, Indigenous youth are stepping up. They recognize the importance of protecting and preserving Indigenous traditions and knowledge systems. These young people are working with and for these communities to empower them and to help them keep their traditions alive. In this regard, social entrepreneurship can be an important tool to ensure that Indigenous communities have the support and resources to continue their traditional practices and earn livelihoods. Co-created in 2017 by the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, and the Citi Foundation, Youth CoLab has supported hundreds of young social entrepreneurs in Asia and the Pacific. The program positions young people front and center in order to solve the region's most pressing challenges. In celebrations of this year's International Day of the World's Indigenous People, Youth CoLab is hosting this panel discussion with our special speakers from Malaysia, Indonesia, and Nepal to shed light on the important role of Indigenous communities and highlight the vital role of youth entrepreneurship for economic growth and preserving the planet. Therefore, without further ado, let's welcome our three speakers for today's panel discussion. Let me first welcome Daniel Teoh, native Malaysia. Daniel Teoh is the founder of Native Discovery, a social enterprise that co-creates community-based tourism ventures. Next up, Laressa Amaly, Suri The Goods, Indonesia. Laressa Amaly is the founder and formulator of Suri The Goods, a natural skincare brand from Indonesia that use local plants. And last but not least, we have Subodh Chowdhry, Spiral Farm House Nepal. Subodh is a member of an ethnic minority group in Nepal and has responsibilities as a program manager with Spiral Farmhouse, an organization that aims to reduce use of harsh chemical fertilizers. Now, let me just turn directly to each of the speakers. Perhaps starting with Daniel Teoh, please introduce yourself and tell us more about your journey so far. How do you get to where you are today? Daniel, please.
Sure. Thanks, Indri, and hello, everyone. Thanks for being here and sharing your time with us. So my name's Daniel. I'm from Malaysia. I'm currently based in KL, which is our capital city. And like Indri mentioned, I'm the founder of Native. So Native has been around for about 3 years now, but we were about 6 months old when the pandemic hit. So I think we are relatively still young because of our, shall we say, slow in development. But how I really got into it was back when I was a student. So I actually studied to be a civil engineer. And at that time, I decided that that path wasn't for me. And I decided to volunteer to build homes with Indigenous communities nearby my campus, essentially. I think that was my first taste of meeting Indigenous communities. And I realized that there was so much about them that was not true according to what I've been told, like what is portrayed of them in the media and textbooks. And I think I genuinely became friends with them over time just because of the amount of time I spent with them. They showed me a lot of hospitality, and I thought to myself that, I think I had quite a transformative relationship with them, and it would be great if the world could see that as well. So it started off as one trip that we just threw on Airbnb experiences back in 2018, I would say. And that just kind of amounted to what Native is today. So as a whole, we want to help people discover the best of Orang Asli culture in a way that uplifts and dignifies them, but also allows the orang asli to learn about society as a whole. And I think we can have a much wholer or better Malaysia if all communities had a place to have good interactions with one another. And that's about it for my story.
Thank you, Daniel. That is really inspiring. So you are actually acting as the custodians of Malaysia, indigenous people's culture and traditions, and perhaps also touching on the natural resources, right? I'll be very keen to, travel together. So next up, we have Laressa Amaly from Suri The Goods, Indonesia. Laressa, please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Miss Indri. My name is Laressa, for sure. You can also call me Lare. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm the co-founder, CEO, and formulator of Suri The Goods, a natural skincare brand from Indonesia that uses local plants and empowers women in West Sumatra to achieve equality, which is inspired by West Sumatra indigenous ethnicity or Minangkabau ethnicity cultural heritage. I was started 4 years ago with my husband because it was hard to find local natural skincare. So I learned about formulations, especially for natural skincare, and created my own formulas. And from there, we decided that we want to do more than just creating a beauty brand. So we also want to give back something to our roots, to West Sumatra. And then we decided to do some rebranding. And then we also joined a youth collab on 2019. And the rest is history. Back to you, Miss Indri.
Thank you, Laressa. I really love, in addition to the West Sumatra heritage, that you are also actually building the women empowerment, which we will discuss further later, I'm sure, during the session. So last but not least, we have Subodh Chowdhry, Spiral Farm House Nepal. Subodh, over to you.
Thank you, Andre. Good lagi, namaste, hello to all the emerging people here, and also, okay, my name is Subodh. I belong to Thar Indigenous marginalized group here in Nepal. I am program officer at Spiral Farm House. Since 1 decade ago, we show that all the farmers, including the indigenous farmers, are using huge amount of harmful chemical fertilizers, pesticides and insecticides in their agricultural land, which is increasing the investment, decreasing the production, polluting the environment, and affecting the human health. Along with this, the major occupation of we Thar indigenous is farming, and because of the chemical farming, we were forgetting our traditional and indigenous ways of farming. We were forgetting our indigenous knowledge. We were forgetting our indigenous ways of life because we were not able to grow our few indigenous food because of the chemical farming. Therefore, we thought to learn the indigenous ways of farming again, start doing farming using indigenous techniques and knowledge, make it a success, and show it to our neighbor farmers and nearby farmers that indigenous farmers farming is better than chemical farming and is sustainable too. So we aware them about the benefits of indigenous ways of farming and inform them about the demerits of the chemical farming too. After that, farmers started believing us, but it was not that easy. It was very difficult to convince them to make them switch to fully organic. But we kept on working on it, and till today we have helped 100 farmers switch to fully organic. We buy their products, and we also sell those products through our own organic farmer shop. We also visited Thailand and participated in the youth collab program there in the and the rest is the history. Thank you.
Thank you, Subodh. If it is possible, probably you can consider exporting it, right? All your organic fruits, vegetables, and farm products, right? Overseas as well. We'll be very, very keen to try. Thank you so much to all the speakers, and welcome everybody again. So I thank you so much. I hear a lot about each of what you have been doing, and will be very keen to learn more, right? So perhaps the next question is, could each of you please share the products and services, and then how are you empowering or benefiting the indigenous communities in your respective communities through your work? And what are some of the challenges? I'm pretty sure that while it's really, we are introducing all the sustainability, and then we're doing a lot of very inspiring works here, right? But I'm sure that each of you face your own challenges as well in your own way. Perhaps again, could we start with Daniel?
Sure. So essentially what Native provides as a service is we conduct tours, experiential tours, learning tours. So you can imagine things like nature hikes, indigenous like meals, craft sessions. So we cater to public travelers. So if you ever visit Malaysia, please look us up. And also we provide these services to universities and international schools for children or students to learn about indigenous culture. During COVID, we also spun off into products. So we also run a durian brand, if you're familiar with the durian fruit, very smelly, but quite delicious, depending on who you ask. So we also sell those through our own brand called Bijibumi Durian. I think the way the experiences or products are designed are really where we intend to give the Orang Asli source of sustainable livelihood. So for us, to give you an idea of the context of most Orang Asli people in Selangor, where we work, their hourly earning power is about maybe 7 ringgit an hour. So when they work with us, that is quadrupled to about 30 ringgit an hour to make sure that it's worthwhile, it's worth their time. But I think more than the livelihood aspect, we also want to let them know that their culture is valuable. Because what we see in many of the communities here is that there is no incentive to really keep your tradition alive. Like urban sprawl is touching a lot of these communities, and they are conforming, for a lack of better words, because they believe that they need to leave some parts of their tradition behind to progress forward. But what we want to show them is that actually it's valuable and it has practical value as well. If you really lean into the value of your culture, you can use it as a source of livelihood also. So I think that is the more, shall we say, philosophical approach to our work. And yeah, I think so far we've worked with about 20 individuals across 4 communities. And I think, yes, I think so far, despite everything, it's been good. I think our ultimate challenge is really educating people about the value of, again, indigenous culture. Because I think our tours sell at a bit of a premium. So locals don't really see too much of that value. I think they expect things to be cheap. Which itself is like a market challenge. Like international travelers typically, no problem. I think it's a different mindset, I would say. So I would really say that's the ultimate challenge we face as an organization.
So now that we are from pandemic moving to endemic, I'm pretty sure that your business will be increasing very soon. I'll pray for that. And maybe just to share with the audience that very often indigenous communities, while they are the one who, as I said, acting as the custodians of their culture, the traditions, the language, but they face multiple forms of discrimination. And very often, they are among the world's most vulnerable and marginalized peoples, right? So perhaps, thanks to many social entrepreneurs, one of whom is Daniel, it actually also helps indigenous peoples to increase their livelihoods, right, through the business, through the what Native is currently doing. That is very interesting, Daniel, and I personally love cultural tours, and I'm pretty sure, and I actually followed your Instagram and I saw the durian, which I really love. So I will surely ping you when I go to Selangor. Okay, next up, Laressa. Would you please tell us more about your products and service, and also how do you empower the women? You mentioned about the women farmers, and then also the indigenous communities in Minangkabau through your work, and what are the challenges that you face?
First of all, in terms of products, we are not only playing in the skincare field, but also we expand into such as aromatherapy, and then we also have lip balms, and then we also expanding to into souvenirs that also mix and match with the aromatherapy side. Our product also offer natural ingredients from West Sumatra that is considered as world's best cosmetical plants, such as coconut oils, citronella essential oil, and then we also have gambir, an endemic plant from West Sumatra. And we use these plants to create creams, face wash, and then moisturizers and many other products. And we also make sure that all our ingredients are following natural formulation standards, safe for pregnant and lactating mothers, and also environmentally friendly. And what is our challenges so far is, first, we need some introduction and we need some time to introduce our cultural values. Maybe some of you maybe have heard that Minangkabau is one of the very few tribes in Indonesia that that applies matriarchal value, or following the mother line of family. So with this unique value, it also ensures that women has equal position and equal has equality in its society, and women is trusted to lead. It's not only led by men only, or it is only to be trusted about the domestic tasks. But in reality, West Sumatra female farmers suffered from pay gap. Almost 179,000 female farmers in West Sumatra lives under poverty. And this also caused many of younger generations dropping out of school, and they also suffer from malnutrition as well. And we in Suri The Goods really want to tackle this problem. So we try as much as we can in terms of sourcing from them, buying them in a fair price, and then we also empower them with teaching them about personal finance and create skincare products from their harvest, so they can they can have additional income beside farming. And the other thing is that become our challenge is the always changing cosmetic regulations in Indonesia. And with the pandemics, it also become more difficult for us to find investors or funding. But the way we tackle this problem is by being creative. We create our crowdfunding program. In the past, I think it's on May this year. And with that crowdfunding, we finally be able to toll manufacturing our products, so we can have the cosmetic permit in Indonesia and export our products very soon.
Wow, Laressa, thank you so much. That's very inspiring. So I learned a couple of things from you, right? One, you are actually doing the women empowerment, increasing their pay, or rather like making the pay grade actually fair and equal to women in Minangkabau. And then secondly, totally understand new business, branding is required, definitely not easy. So you are doing crowdfunding from there, you're tapping it, very creative. And then very soon you're also going to export, right? So it's not only available for Indonesians, but very soon it will be available for perhaps Daniel in Malaysia or Subodh in Nepal as well, right? Very, very interesting. I should also try your goods. And maybe, I don't know if nowadays everybody is bringing hand sanitizers, right? Gadget sanitizers, right? And definitely I will buy your products.
Thank you. I'm waiting for that. Back to you, Mbak Indri.
Thank you, Laressa. Okay, next, we would really love to hear from Subodh about what you are doing in Nepal, especially on your sustainable farm produce. Could you please share with us your products, services, as well as what are you empowering the indigenous communities in Nepal, as well as your challenges?
Thank you very much. Yeah, we are the only one in our area who is doing the indigenous ways of farming, and the rest are doing the chemical farming. And so we have biodynamic organic as our solution, where we use the natural resources as and we use manure in the place of chemical fertilizers. So we do have our own insect controllers. We don't depend on the insect controls that are available in the market. So we produce themselves in our own farm, and we do have the biodynamic organic as our solution. So it is sustainable, and we also have the binary calendar from which we see the position of sun and moon to prepare for our agricultural. And we believe that this really helps our crop to grow better. And for this, when we want to train the farmers, so we select the highly motivated farmers, because the farmers who want to switch to organic farming, they must be highly motivated, because if they are not highly motivated, then they will definitely leave. They must be passionate. So therefore we do our best to select the highly motivated farmers. We train them through peer-to-peer method. We also provide them the toolkits that can help them switch towards fully organic, because we believe and we think that most of the farmers do not have or may not have the money to buy the products, to buy the tools that are required for switching to the fully organic. And therefore we provide them, and we do have the challenges, because lots of farmers still do not believe us. They think that the organic farming or the indigenous ways of farming is not sustainable, and it is time consuming. It needs time. Therefore, and they also have to do a lot of work for the land preparation and the manure preparation. They don't want to do it. They just want to buy the chemical fertilizer from the market and directly apply in the agricultural land. So they still want to do the agriculture through the chemical farming. And again, we also saw that the youths are not wanting to do the agriculture. They want to involve themselves in the non-agricultural activities, because the agriculture is expensive. The investment is higher than the return, and therefore they want to involve themselves in non-agricultural activities. And we saw that a lot of youth are going to the Gulf nations for employment opportunities, and also they are preparing for the civil service job in the Nepal, and also they are doing job in the factories, because they get the payment there on time. But in agriculture, they are afraid, because they think they might have lost, so they don't want to do it. And government of Nepal is also promoting the chemical farming a lot. They don't have ideas and visions in the sector of the organic farming or indigenous farming. Government is planning to open the chemical fertilizer industry in Nepal, and in this way we are facing a lot of challenges here. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Subodh. So if I hear from you, I feel that you are really hitting all of us in terms of the prime responsibility of preserving the planet, right? Because you are working on sustainable environmental practices, and indeed, because it takes much longer for you to farm organic goods than through the chemical fertilizers, right? Obviously, so very, very keen to learn more from you. Now, now that we understand, more in terms of the product services that each of your company has, we want to deep dive a little bit, with each of you. So if I may turn to Suri The Goods, Laressa, what is one of the most significant improvements created by Suri The Goods that benefited the women farmers? I know you mentioned about the pay, right? What other improvements, or perhaps how many are you hiring right now? How does it work, etc.? If you could share more with us, Laressa.
Okay, there are actually a lot, but first, we keep outsourcing our coconut oils, essential oils, even though there are some logistic issues, and because we outsource and do fair trade with the farmers, this helped them to survive during the beginning of the pandemic. We successfully work with 3 farmer groups, around 20 to 30 farmers in total, and we support them by buying the citronella essential oil, which at the beginning of the pandemic really, it is unabsorbed because all the suppliers stopped buying from them, so there are oversupplies in there. So we created our hand sanitizer using the essential oils from the farmers, and with that, we believe we already contributed more than 50% of their harvest, and also we successfully encouraged them to apply the organic farming and more sustainable farming. We also have our own method in Indonesia that promotes sustainability. And within a year, they are successfully getting organic coconut oil certification. And with this, this could open the opportunity for them to also export their organic coconut oil to another continents. And the other thing is we already partnered with another fellow youth collab friends. We created a personal financial class to empower not only farmers, but also a small medium businesses that run by women in 2020. And we also will be creating our first offline empowerment class on September, where we will be teaching about how to create another personal care products. So we wanted to make sure that the women communities will still gain more access to to have additional income. And lastly, we also keep telling our cultural heritage, because based on our internal survey on last year, many younger generation in our area doesn't know anything about our cultural roots. So we are really hoping in the next few years, people will start noticing when they heard West Sumatra is not about the delicious beef rendang anymore, but also about its beauty, about its agriculture, and also about its cultural, that emphasizing on women empowerment and equality. I think that's answering the questions, hopefully.
Thank you, Laressa. So just for the audience, benefit, beef rendang is a very delicious local cuisine. So it's a stewed beef with a lot of coconut gravy. Generally it's a bit strong, but it's really, really delicious. So if you come to Indonesia, you'll be able to taste beef rendang. Thank you, Laressa. So what I really gather is really not just like about the sustainability or the the goods itself, but also giving women the personal financial class, the education, the knowledge, and then the continuity of having income, right? Basically, that's key to your business. Okay, which actually it's if you teach someone, okay, they learn now, but they can actually, what's the biggest benefit is that they can actually make it sustainable, right, for their family. Next, I'd like to ask Daniel, based on your experience, what are the main challenges when creating a more inclusive environment for the indigenous people, particularly when we're talking about sustainable livelihoods and culture preservation?
Wow, that's a tough question, and I think it's a very long answer, but I will try to maybe, if I were to condense it, I would say the main challenge would really be about narrative. I feel like at least in Malaysia, there is a certain narrative that people have about the Orang Asli, so indigenous communities, but it's also the narrative that the Orang Asli have learned about themselves from nearby communities. So to give you an idea, for example, when it comes to selling goods between the local indigenous communities and their neighboring towns, there is very serious price suppression. So for example, durian sell for as cheap as like two ringgit a kilo. That's like 50 cents in dollars, by the way. Because the Orang Asli don't have marketing power, and they are also unsure on how to negotiate. And for a long time, this has been their relationship, right, with the other businesses in the area. And the businesses in the area have also learned of this narrative where if you want cheap durians, you go to the Orang Asli, and that's how you do business. And I think the Orang Asli also have internalized that. So a large part of our work is actually changing that narrative on two sides. So it's being able to position Orang Asli products as something that is worthwhile and valuable, while also letting the Orang Asli know that you don't have to be that way. I think that's where we team up, right? I think for Native, we really look at how we tie our fate as business partners together with the Orang Asli, in a sense where like we believe that your product is worth a lot more. So we will let you know how much we sell it for, and we will let you know how much goes to you, because that is fair. We want to have, versus like the traditional relationship. I think to summarize that into like a very practical thing that actually happened is, and it's something I love. So there's this Orang Asli partner that we have in one of the communities. His name is Jais. And I think he is a durian farmer himself, right? Durian grower. And he sells all sorts of products. He makes like tempoyak. I think you have that in Indonesia as well, which is like fermented durian. And there was one guest wanted to buy it from him. And I was there. And the guest asked him, how much is this? And then he looked at me and asked me, how much should I sell it for? And then I told him like, how much do you think it's worth? And he said like 7 ringgit. And the thing is, I know outside, if you sell it retail, you sell it for like 28 bucks. And I told him, why don't you try telling the guest it's 28? And said, no, that's too much. I think what I told him is, that might be true, but I think like, do you think you spent a lot of effort on this? And he said, yes. And I told him, why don't you just go and say 28? The worst is you just sell it for 7. And he said 28, and the guest didn't even flinch and gave him the money. And I think then it's when it's modeled out to him, right? That again, like it really depends who you're dealing with. Like there's a whole world out there other than those like same businessmen that come and suppress your prices. So how do you change that? Like open up their perspective on that. Yeah, I would say, so narrative, in summary, narrative.
Thank you, Daniel. Again, about the narrative and basically creating awareness, I would say that their goods are really, really worthwhile, right? So maybe for some unknown reason, perhaps the Orang Asli or the indigenous communities, they feel that their goods are not worth that much, but actually they are. And in fact, probably all are organic, which is supposed to be very, very expensive, So talking about organic, now we're back to Spiral Farmhouse, Subodh. Subodh, as a member of an ethnic minority group in Nepal, what is one thing that you feel drastically improve through the presence of these social enterprise like yourself that support and empower indigenous people?
Thank you very much for the question. Yeah, there are a lot, but you are telling me one. So that one thing I think is that we cannot, and our government cannot, no any country can provide jobs to the young generation in the future. Not all the youths, few of them will get, but lot of them might be jobless. Therefore, it's better to make them self-sustained because profits are better than the wages. Also, we have to think in terms of the protecting the environment, saving the mother earth, and making them organic agripreneur or social entrepreneurs also gives them profit and the name and fame too. Like he or she is organic farmer, and if we are able to provide the consumers the healthy food uh, in the same price as they are getting the other chemical food, the food that contains chemical, then definitely they will be healthy. We will have a better environment here, a better future here, where everyone with a happy face, with less disease or no disease can be seen, and that's our vision. And we are doing our best to empower them. And obviously, in the future, we'll be contributing from our side. More and more number of farmers will be connected with us, and the production will be higher, and we will reach the more number of consumers in the Nepal and also outside Nepal, so that you can be able to buy our products. Thank you.
For sure, Subodh. Yeah, mentioning about less disease, that is actually one of the, I guess it's not emerging anymore. It's one of the top importance, especially, after the pandemic, etc., that people are really looking into health, right? Health ultimately is the number one most important thing in our lives, right? With good health, everything else comes into place. Thank you so much, Subodh. So to the audience, we are actually now opening up Q&A session. Please ask questions, and you may actually type in your questions in the chat at Zoom, and we will take the questions from there. Let me see if there is already any coming in. First question to Daniel. How do you ensure that indigenous people remain meaningfully involved in some of the business decisions that directly impact them?
Sure, another challenging question. Well, I think I first and foremost acknowledge that I am not from the community, right? I am an ally to the community, and I'm not an indigenous person, and I don't share certain experiences that they have. So I think it's really important to involve them on multiple levels. So for us, it's a co-creation process. So we do this thing called asset mapping. I think those of you from the development field would be familiar with it, but essentially it means where we work with them to identify all their strengths, all the assets they have in the community. And we also run through what are they willing to do and what do they think might be wise. I think we try to frame it from that perspective. And I think then from there is where we build the basis of all our products. So let's say we do know that there is this particular like elder who's really great at making this like fantastic dish, but he says, I never want to share this with anyone ever. And we tell him that that's okay, like we won't sell it then. So we kind of run through that process. And I think so that's kind of like the base, right? Setting the foundation. And second is like when it comes to operations. So for example, for our tours, we also let the communities, we work with them to choose. When is it that you want to work? What are your special days that you never want to work on? And from there, it also allows us to project, right? Like what our cash flow is going to be if we get X number of guests on this X number of days. And I think there is planning around that as well. So I think like it's also to make sure that they feel like partners when they work with us. So they need to know that they have equal say, because also at the end, I acknowledge that, we use their land. It is all indigenous land that we run our tours on. And we believe that, hence that, they are technically equal, if not bigger partner shareholders when it comes to assets that we utilize. Yeah. And I think all in all, I think I've learned a lot, right, across the years. And I also had my fair share of like falling outs from my inexperienced days. But I think a big part of it is really having regular communication. So I think we always make sure that we have like monthly sit-ins with the community to discuss any sources of tension, to communicate widely. And if there's ever anything that they don't like or want to change, they are free to ask. So if the community asks us, like, what is your profit margin on this product, we will tell them. Like, is to make sure that they are aware. Because the thing is, right, like we are in the age of the internet. If they were to Google native, they will find exactly how much we sell it for. And we make the assumption that they will have perfect knowledge. So the best way to protect your interests as a business is to be transparent. So,
right.
Yeah.
So transparency, open communication, pretty much sums it all, right? And also giving the autonomy or independence to the indigenous communities, basically. Yep. So I mean, professional world, or even dealing outside, I would say it's still the same. It's the open communication that's key. Thank you, Daniel. Actually, we will be very interested to get some response from Laressa as well. What's your opinion on this same question? So basically, how does the what did you do to ensure that the indigenous peoples remain meaningfully involved?
I was totally inspired from Daniel's answer, actually. And maybe we also shared similar principles in Suri The Goods. First, in terms of the farmers, since I was like more like the buyer to them, I don't really get too much involvement in their harvesting or pre-planting. So I let them do their job, and I trust them. And I think the key is also to talk what you believe, tell each other what you believe, make sure that you share same vision for your venture. And if there's any like boundaries that you don't want to cross from each of you, you should talk it before you proceed into further deals, or maybe further cooperation between you two. And then I think maintaining teamwork spirit is also important. For example, I am currently staying in Jakarta right now, but on 2019 I was spending a whole year in Padang, in the capital city of West Sumatra, and during that time I really spend as much as I can with the farmers, so I can understand what's in their mind, their livelihood. So in the future, I won't like crossing their boundaries, because it's important too for them to be recognized, to be seen, to be heard, because they are living in a rural area for such a long time, and then they have most of them feeling very inferior if they are someone outside their circle, and then suddenly enter their society. And another thing is to always be assertive, because sometimes several farmers group have their own style in communicating, and you just have to have an open mind to understand them.
Okay, so I think trust if I can some probably trust, right?
Yes.
Basically you trust the farmers, the women farmers there, and that because basically you are relying on them, right? Through the farming process, and that it generates the goods that you actually want to have, right? Yeah, very, very inspiring, Laressa. One more question for Laressa from the audience. So, dear Laressa, being a woman, indigenous, and operating in rural areas, you seem to be breaking a lot of barriers. What would you advise young women who wants to follow your path?
I love these questions because this is what I experience on the daily basis. But the way I overcome this is by try to reach another fellow women that can offer me support and maybe just like giving me some safe space to share my stories and then like to brainstorm, because sometimes I feel like when I didn't reach out for another women, it makes me feel isolated, and then it will spiral down from there. So I think the first thing first is to have your own tribe, meaning that you need to have your support system. And then another thing is starting from there, you can work on your insecurities, because a lot of like stigmas in my area regarding women who wants to have business is really high. And even though I already, try to expand my network, there are still a lot of like another stigma coming in from another community. So the other thing is to work on your confidence and try to improve your weaknesses. So it's more like a balance to gain confidence and to fight your insecurity. And with time, as you progress, the feeling will eventually seem smaller.
Fade
and
away.
then the other thing is to remember the why you started this, because when you running out of energy, sometimes you forget why you started this, and then another thing may come in and interrupt your focus. So remember your starting point, your why, and that is the most working things for me to tackle this problem.
Thank you, Laressa. So remember why you started this, your objectives, the goals, right? All the positive things that you are trying to bring to the communities, and that actually keep on going for you, right? And doing better and better. So now this is for everybody. All of you have such amazing products with stories. What are the ways from your perspective that people can help to spread the word and for you to access more markets? Perhaps if we could start with Subodh.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. And I want to say that our consumer trust our product, but we do have to empower more number of farmers here in Nepal. And the Nepalese farmers are small landholding farmer. About I think 78% of the farmers who are here in Nepal are having less than 0.8 hectares of agricultural land, according to the statistics of the Nepal. Therefore, we have to reach more number of farmer. We have to aware them about the benefits of organic farming, and also let them know about the demerits of the chemical farming, and train them about the biodynamic, organic, and just farming, help them get switched towards the fully organic. And after that, we also have to buy their product, because the government is promoting the chemical farming here. So if we will be able to collect the product from them and sell them from our own vendors, because the government has not given us the right to verify that this product is organic. Therefore, we are having those challenges. And if we get all those support from the government, from the the organization that are collaborating with us, like as Youth Collab, UNDP, UNESCO, if we get the support from them, then definitely we'll reach more number of farmers in the future. And if we reach the more number of farmer, production will be higher. And once the production is higher, the consumer will be able to buy the healthy organic product, which can definitely help them to the better life. And another thing is that the consumer really don't know where to buy the product right now. Therefore, it is our duty to get connected with them. And for this, we are doing our best. We are collaborating with the international organization, and in the future, I think we will definitely achieve our dream, and the consumers will be able to get the organic products. Thank you.
So creating not just the supply, but also the demand, yeah, Subodh. If we could move to Daniel, just a quick one, probably from Daniel on the same question.
Okay, sure. Well, I think since Subodh mentioned already, like promoting our product, I think that's the most obvious way. But I think the other is also sharing the story, right, that you hear about, like the perspective. I think whether it's about what it means to be an Indigenous ally and just your thoughts about it, I think that itself is already spreading something. And I think an idea can go a long way. And I think, yeah, I would say you can probably start there. I think most people in this call are already somewhat either Indigenous or Indigenous allies. So I think putting your perspective out into the world is already impactful.
Thank you, Daniel. Will be probably your word of mouth starting now. Laressa, how about you?
Just to add up, like another way to spread the word is through creating where we can talk like this. For example, this webinar, and then another thing is to provide more dialogue between people who are curious, and then not shy away from explaining your products, like Subodh and Daniel also already mentioned. And the other thing is, I think, as simple as for you to show up in some events, or maybe when the opportunity knocks on your door, just try to show up. You never know who is gonna respond to your products and your services. And yeah, I think that's all for me.
Be open, basically.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Laressa. Thank you very much, everybody who has already posted the questions. I'll close the Q&A for now. I would like to ask each of the speakers, if there was only one thing you hope the people in the audience do today as a result of our conversation, what would it be? I know we discussed just a little bit, but maybe there is one thing specifically that you would like to, maybe starting with Laressa.
I think just be an open book to everyone, because yeah, life is just a great adventure, and cherish while you are still alive.
Thank you, Laressa. Be an open book. How about Subodh?
Life is a beautiful journey, so we have to keep on moving with a smile on our face, and keep trying, because when the Coca-Cola started, it only sold 25 bottles in that year when it get started, and now the world is knowing the Coca-Cola. Therefore, keep trying, keep doing. Definitely you will achieve your all dream. So make the mindset first and improve your skill set. Definitely the future is yours. Thank you.
If Coca-Cola can, Spiral Farmhouse for sure can.
Sure. Yes.
Daniel, last but not least, how about you?
Sure. I think both Laressa and Subodh said such inspiring things. So I was going to say something lame like follow us on Instagram. but I think yeah, but I think like in another way, I would say just nurture whatever ideas you have. I think you're probably here because you want to learn, right? You want to learn about what's the scene like for Indigenous entrepreneurs, what you can do. And I would say, yes, nurture and pursue what you have in mind. I think just building off what Subodh and Laressa already said, I think it can start small, right? I started like with one tour once a month on some random platform that I don't even own, with one guy who said, okay, let's go do it together. So I think I would say just start.
Thank you, Daniel. And actually, I mean, in terms of the current world, which is digital, right? I will agree with you. You know, start with Instagram, right? That's where you gain all your followers. Thank you very much, Daniel, Subodh, and Laressa. It has been a very exciting and inspiring panel discussion with each of you. I personally actually learned a lot from each of you. You are very, very inspiring. And, you know, I myself, you know, being in the banking world, but I would really love to be able to, you know, someday, you know, be involved, okay, in the sustainable journey as well, you know, and contributing to the community. I believe that today's discussion really shed light to everybody on the important role that each of you plays, you know, to the indigenous communities. You guys are creating the awareness about the issues of the indigenous peoples that they face. And then you also highlight the vital role of youth entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship for economic growth, and more importantly, it's preserving the planet and making the cultural tradition sustainable. Thank you very much to each of the speakers today, Daniel Teoh from Native, Laressa from Suri The Goods, and Subodh from Spiral Farm House Nepal. Thank you very much, and thank you to the audience today. Have a good afternoon.